I had the glory of, at age 3 or 4, my cousin Jeff, who was a teenager, would sit there and just explain all sorts of schoolyard jokes to me.
Yeah.
So there's this joke where a guy tells you, have you ever tried a Hertz donut? And then you say, no. And then he hits you and says, Hertz donut. That's how I learned about Hertz donut, was my cousin Jeff telling me that.
He gave you like the game FAQ strategy guide to like all the schoolyard jokes. Reinforcements. I am the reinforcements. This is episode 266 of Insert Credit, a podcast with little more than a panel of video game experts, a list of questions, a horrible buzzer, and a dream. I'm Alex Jaffe, and a video game opinion I changed my mind about this year is tool-assisted speedruns. I used to believe that a speedrun had to be done in real time by a real person to be impressive, but I've come to appreciate them as an art in itself.
Oh, interesting.
Very good.
So the prompt was...
Something you changed your mind about this year.
I don't change my mind. My name is Frank Cifaldi, and I'm going to ignore the prompt and agree with Jaffe that tool-assisted speedruns are their own art form, and I think they are very distinct from real-time speedruns, although I really appreciate and enjoy when you watch a speedrun history video when there's a TAS-only strategy and then a human finally does it, and then suddenly, like the next day, 80 other people can do it too.
Incredible.
Overcome the machines.
Mm-hmm. John Henryham.
Yeah, I'm Tim Rogers, and I don't know, I didn't really change my mind about anything this year. I think I've gotten to a point in my life where I just generally know what I think about stuff. I've changed my mind plenty in the past, though I'm pleased to report it doesn't really happen so much anymore because it doesn't have to.
It's solidified.
Yeah, at the risk of becoming, just like sliding downhill toward retirement age and beginning once again to post on Facebook, Yeah. Like that's the risk one faces when one stops for a moment to reflect that no, their opinion has not changed in the last year about anything meaningful. So I've always thought tool-assisted speedruns were pretty neat. I don't know. So
well, I'm glad to join the club.
I'm sad that they get abbreviated TAS, like so many unfortunate abbreviations and shortenings in the speedrunning community.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really just can't say the word strategy.
Yeah, am I watching a tool-assisted speedrun of Batman, or am I watching Batman the Animated Series?
Good joke.
I just opened up Facebook for the first time in almost a year, and I saw someone describing someone's shirt as a hoodie, and it was just clearly a sweatshirt. So, disinformation much? You know what I mean? Like, Lord, they're not kidding.
Sounds like you should change your opinion about going back to Facebook.
Facebook is interesting. I kind of thought I had my finger on the pulse of all of the ridiculous stuff people are saying, though. I just saw a post by someone, I'm closing the tab now, expressing an opinion I didn't know anyone had about a celebrity. So that's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Someone called Guillermo del Toro a serial abuser and said that they are sickened that he continues to get away with critical acclaim and stuff. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So I closed the tab. I'm like, let's, I'm not going to have any fun left if I keep scrolling down. So, wow, that was a very good 1-2 punch. Oh, I love that hoodie. It's a sweatshirt. There's no hood on that. And then the very next post was that, Lord, who knows what god darn secret of what god darn filthy dark alternate universe was contained in the third post.
Well, I'm Brandon Sheffield. I don't think I really changed my mind about anything either. I mean, I decided whether to, in hooking up my game consoles, whether I would hook the Wii up to a 16:9 television or a 4:3 television. That's not really a mind change, but it's a decision I made. Whereas before I was unsure.
Well, I think last we spoke on this show, the decision had not been made.
That's right. So I guess I changed my mind about whether the decision had been made, and I've decided 4:3. It's on the 4:3.
You decided 4:3. So I mean, I wasn't going to say this last time, but I feel like 16:9 is the mathematically correct choice because on 4:3, you get a smaller screen when you watch 16:9, but on 16:9 you get not a smaller screen when you watch 4:3.
Well, it's technically a little.
It just kind of feels
little
like
bit of cheating because the the actual Wii is on the 4.3 CRT, but the Wii U, since it turns out there's space, will be attached to the HD TV. And so if there is a game that requires 16:9 specifically, then I will just bring it over there and play it on that instead. So
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Some might say that making a decision is changing your mind from no opinion to an opinion.
yeah, I might say that.
I think it counts. It's the closest to counting of the three. Brandon, you're up ahead on this episode.
Hooray!
Tim, you got those 10 host points, but you've yet to cash them in. We're waiting on that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do a regular old episode now. I'm going to ask you this. Who were the kings of the lost art of video game packaging?
Oh yeah, that one guy who did all those amazing shapes and...
Yo, he visited our library, actually.
What's his name again?
Well, he goes by Yo.
Tell us about Yo.
Yeah, Yo Design did a lot of the really interesting packaging for PC games. So like the Trapezoid Prince of Persia box is maybe his most famous. He did an inverse of that box for Prince of Persia 2, which is really interesting. He did Spectre, Gabriel Knight had a weird one too. There's actually I believe 100 copy print run of an art book about his stuff that we have here. That is really awesome.
Are we saying that above all else, when it comes time to package a video game, what we prize as a committee here is weird shapes?
Well, that is Brandon's answer. That's Brandon's answer, not
weird
mine.
cardboard.
I was just starting it off, just saying that guy is cool.
Yeah, that's a good start. It's a good start. My pick is actually 1980s Electronic Arts.
Really?
They had packaging that looked like a 45, right? It was like flat and square, and with art that bled over the edge, and it was very artist forward, as in like the name of the game designer was the first thing on the package, and then there was really interesting art, and they were trying to make software look like albums, and I think they succeeded admirably. And I like that there's, you kind of lay all the EA stuff from that era, I don't know, on the floor or the table or whatever, and it just feels like there's a continuity to it, and there's sort of like a crate digging look to it, and some of them catch your eye, like Worms comes to example as just being like, oh, what the heck is this? What is this weird concept album of a computer game? And I think it's great. So that's my pick. I like continuity in like a small subset like that. You know what I mean? Like Konami's Silver games on the NES or something like that. I like there being a sense of cohesion in a small subset of things.
I'm going to go the other direction and say that I like the late era PC Engine game covers, because whereas most platforms you've got like a dedicated place where the console logo has to be, and there's like a strip that calls out what exactly it is and all that stuff, like on the side of a Saturn game or on the top of a PlayStation 4 game or whatever. In the late PC Engine CD era, like 1993 to 1996 or whatever, it was very Wild Westy, and sometimes you would just have like a single image of a character, and maybe it would have the PC Engine logo real small. And those reminded me of Laserdisc covers. So I guess it's somewhat similar to Frank's answer, except that the cohesion is totally not there. You could sometimes be forgiven for not realizing it was a video game by looking just at the cover, which I thought was neat and weird. Like if you look at the cover for the game Fiend Hunter, it just looks like, I don't know, it looks like an anime Laserdisc or something. So I like that stuff quite a bit, and I feel like if we're talking about stuff that has been lost to package design, I think that kind of free form thing has been lost, because these days you got like half the back of a PlayStation 5 game is taken up by terms and services and
legal stuff. Yeah,
so you got these tiny little screenshots, you maybe get one or two things to say, and it's the back of the box is not about showing you what the game is anymore, and that's definitely lost and sad.
Is packaging over? Like, we're seeing more and more of a shift to like just people getting digital games.
Packaging isn't over, because there's all kinds of limited editions,
boutique publishers of packaged limited editions and stuff. But I mean, I'm not saying so as an anti-sentimentalist or anything, though. Physical games are definitely the deviant behavior for right now, right?
Yeah.
That's not controversial to say. It's definitely the weirdo thing. Maybe it shouldn't be, especially because, now you're seeing god darn streaming services removing the show Westworld was canceled, which I find very funny because it started out as complete trash and then it started making less and less sense. And then eventually, I don't know, they had one season left and then they canceled it. And now HBO is removing it from HBO. Did they already remove it? It's like, it's not even on the streaming service anymore.
Yeah, that's wild stuff.
I saw a lot of horrible conversations on Twitter where someone was like, somebody posted a honest question. In the days before streaming services, did you just get sad when a show got canceled? Did you complain? And I was like, I obsessively dug, and this person was 16 years old, right? I was able to identify scrolling down their Twitter a little bit. And it's like, yeah, first of all, yes. And also technology burns brain bridges, you know, like it's on the, I mean, HBO's Rome and Deadwood are still up on the HBO app and they got canceled in the middle of their runs. And if they threw Rome and Deadwood off there, I'd get sad. Not that I watch them every day. Anyway, there's no physicals of a lot of these shows that are getting canceled and removed from their streaming platforms. So maybe physical stuff should be more readily available of media, but it is currently deviant behavior enabled by these the deviance of the behavior is enabled by these sinister platform holders who just delight in the idea of removing a thing from existence.
The positive take maybe on that is that we're maybe just right now in this awkward era of physical media basically doesn't exist anymore and digital only stuff is just starting to disappear forever. And, you know, it might even itself out, you know, in a year or two or something like that. But yeah, certainly right now it's, you know, something that no one really built in any contingencies for, right? Is a show going away literally forever.
Yeah, but I mean, that's happened forever. Like I want to watch the show A Man Called Hawk, but that doesn't exist anywhere because it was only on TV, and the only way you can watch it is because some random people recorded it and posted like 240 res clips of it to YouTube. And luckily piracy is much better and much easier now. But we're definitely getting back to that era where the pirates are the only people that are going to have the stuff, the goods. Man Called Hawk, Avery Brooks. It's the only other television show he 100% starred as the star in, aside from Deep Space Nine. You gotta.
Whoa, 100% star run. No skips.
And this is why everybody needs to check out the Internet Archive to get all the PlayStation games, all the Saturn games, and then, you know, just as the new games get up there, just get them all.
The only service better than Xbox Game Pass. Here's my next question. Which games make the weird controllers they were designed for worth using?
The original Resident Evil. That ASCII Resident Evil pad is real good. Does anybody know this one? I'm just mostly joking. I'm just saying it because I'm looking at it right now. It's like right on the table next to me.
Oh, I'm seeing it, yeah.
Have you seen it? I mean, I really am. Are you looking at it now?
Yeah, I am looking at it.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Do you guys know this?
I don't.
Here it is on eBay. You just get a nice picture of it. Just look at that picture. It's got like a little pistol grip, and it's got the run button. It's basically a PlayStation controller, an original PlayStation pad taken apart and redesigned so that playing Resident Evil feels really good. It just takes all of the buttons of Resident Evil and puts them in an arrangement that feels right. The right side of the controller is a pistol grip, and there is a trigger under it, which is the shoot button, right? So the square button is on a trigger under your right hand on a pistol grip, kind of just predating any controller that actually had a trigger. So
when the Wii came out, I really thought this would be a thing, that there would be a ton of weird controllers that you just slotted the Wii remote into, because that's where all the expensive guts were. And it just never really materialized. Like they did the guitar, they did the train thing in Japan, right? Where you just slotted in the Wii remote. It's exactly what I had in mind. Was like, yeah,
they had the stupid crossbow thing.
I worked on a game that did it.
I mean, we had such a surplus of corn in the world, in America, you know, and that's what they were making all of that plastic out of.
Oh, yeah.
We should have had 1 million corn plastic attachments for those controllers, man. Should have had it.
I worked on a game called Wicked Monsters Blast, which came with a light gun attachment that I do not have, but it was just, it was similar to the crossbow thing. You just slot it into a...
Oh, you mean Wicked Monsters Blast? You mean...
Yeah. That's right. The Resident Evil 4 pad, that's not good.
No,
but it's a chainsaw.
Well, none of those are gimmick
For
controllers, not specialty controllers. Like the Onimusha katana controller, that's all just gimmick trash.
Well, there's gimmick trash that I really like, which is WarioWare Twisted. And yes, that's a controller. Come on, that cartridge is a controller. You tilt it around.
I'll allow it.
Right? It's a very, very gimmicky thing made for a very, very gimmicky game. So it works for me. Like I enjoyed that game quite a bit once all the way through. Probably never play it again. But I thought it was neat and unique and fun for a little while. I would not really want to play a different game with that, but as a specialty one-off controller, I thought that worked really effectively.
I think the NedgeCon's pretty fun.
It's pronounced Negicone, as in Nejiru means to rotate or twist, and cone for controller. In case anybody didn't know that, I think I pronounced it Negicone in my video about Boku no Natsume, which has an extended segment about the Negicone for a very good reason.
But I believe in the US they called it the NedgeCon.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't like we don't know because there's no TV advertisement or anything for it. So it's like, I got a lot of people being like, why are you pronouncing it that way? And it's like, because it's very clear that it's a capital G and it's an Negicone. Anyway, that controller's fantastic. It's better than any analog stick, in my opinion.
It's pretty fun.
Did any game ever justify the PlayStation Move?
Sure.
There were a couple games that tried.
Yeah, the Johann Sebastian Joust is the one that justified the PlayStation Move, I guess people would say, because it was...
Yeah.
Johann Sebastian Joust it's just...
I didn't love it.
I mean, not to say
but it worked.
It's a small feat, but the only feature of the PlayStation Move controller that Johann Sebastian Joust uses is the motion sensor, and it uses it in a very, very crude way.
It's true.
Which is, if there's motion, you lose, right? So it's like, I'm not sure that it didn't utilize the full feature set of.
I guess
the
I wouldn't say
PlayStation
it
controller.
justified it, but it at the very least gave some people a reason to have
advantage
one.
of
It defended it slightly, defended its existence.
Yeah. I mean, the PlayStation Move was a better Wiimote, and there just weren't any good Wiimote games.
Yeah. True.
That fully used the Wiimote either, except, Wii Sports Resort using the Motion Plus was fantastic. I'm surprised nobody here's brought up the Justifier.
Oh, I was going to bring up the Stinger, the Saturn one.
Well, the Justifier is the Konami, that's what the Konami light gun for the Mega Drive is called. In case anybody didn't know that.
Okay.
It's just a big old Magnum revolver for Lethal Enforcers. Man, Lethal Enforcers kind of owns. Did you ever play that?
Yes.
It's pretty good.
But I was bringing up the Saturn one because it had those slots for putting batteries in so that you could change the weight of it and stuff. And I feel like that in itself is kind of a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we didn't get to talk about Steel Battalion, which was the obvious one. Okay.
Does it take advantage of it, though? I think it's just a big joke controller.
No, it does.
Well, I mean, the deeper philosophies of this question involve qualifying the game as actually good. And actually complete and actually full,
Sure.
I mean, you start to get into, does this game earn its own existence, is the question with the Steel Battalion. And the answer is maybe not. Because whenever it's brought up in conversation, what does anybody say about
Big controller.
Big controller.
When you get into the full simulation of it actually, maybe it's more that the controller justifies the existence of a game for it, or something like that. It's kind of the opposite way.
It's like anytime you see people talking about arcade games on a Twitter thread, some doofus will bring up like that Mech Warrior or that whatever that big giant pod game was with the projection screen. Some doofus will bring that up and be like, the best arcade game ever. Oh, you're forgetting this. And it's like, I know.
You just remember it because it's big.
No, I am forgetting this on purpose. Yes.
yeah. It's like you're only remember seeing it in EGM, guy.
The thing is at MagFest every year.
Oh yeah.
So I have played it in recent memory. That is a capital B bad game. That's not a good game.
It is a controller waiting for a game, is what it is. And we do have a lot of this. I feel like the final word here, Wiimote and PlayStation Move both are controllers that are still waiting for a killer app, which may never arrive.
All right. Here's my next question. Number 3. So there's been a lot of talk for a long time now about the proliferation of father-son or father-daughter games. What other kinds of human relationships could we afford to explore more in video games?
I think those are it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Those are the only ones.
First of all, there are fewer father games than you'd think. It's just it happens to be they're all AAA.
Yeah, and there are fewer AAA games than there used to be, so it just feels like a lot.
There are fewer AAA games than there used to be, period. And the AAA games are hopelessly lost in a massive, massive swamp of equally interesting, if not better, independent games and smaller games, right? So, I feel like this whole derision of dad games and whatnot stems from this continued inferiority complex of, for example, the independent developers, whom I would like to empower by saying, keep it up, man. Just, those games are good. I played a lot of real good indie games this year. I don't know. I don't need to sit around and compare them all to God of War, Ragnarok, or The Last of Us Part 1, or The Last of Us Part 2, or The Last of Us Remastered, or The Last of Us, that's the full The Last of Us series. 3, isn't it interesting? The Last of Us is the only game, a series with 4 entries, 3 of which are the same game. Right? It's just like literally the same game. I think that kind of rules. So like 4 of the dad games are actually just 3 copies of one game and then another one.
So Uncharted 4, you got Brother. That's another one.
Yeah, Brothers. You know what? I don't know if you're being facetious here, but
I'm not.
The brotherhood in that game is actually very thoroughly. It is thoroughly and literarily explored in ways that do not involve game mechanics. It's I don't know. It's nice. I think the brotherhood is an essential theme of that game.
And they give you a bonus dad at the end of that game too. And not to spoil it for anybody, but there's a dad sequence as well.
I think there could be more games that there's one video game I'm thinking of that I don't want to talk too much about because once I start, it's one of my favorite games of all time. There is a video game. If anybody in the listenerhood knows this, just to keep it quiet. There's a game where you play as a dude, like a manly man, and you have a female best friend, right? And at some point you meet another girl, and your guy likes her, and then your female best friend just disappears from the story. She just says, "I'm going to leave," and she leaves. And that's a very profound emotional moment in that game, especially because it occurs dozens of hours in. And your friend and traveling companion just says, "I'm going to get out of here." And if you're playing it as like a 16-year-old boy, you're like, "Well, that's weird." And then you look back at it a decade later or so, and you're like, "Oh man," you see the foreshadowing just building up. It's like that's actually a very profoundly sketched little dynamic in that particular game. I don't know. That's kind of a cool thing. I'm saying Jerry and Elaine. That would be a good dynamic.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites.
Not a lot of sisters games.
Sisters?
Yeah, I mean there's like the Gianna sisters or whatever. But there's no real, not a lot of investigation into the dynamic so much. There's some, but not in the big.
Oh yeah,
in the big games.
I can think of a few in fighting games. There's the Faye sisters in Phoenix Wright. But there's not really a lot of games about sisters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot of games about brothers in general, aside from the games that have the word
brother in the title.
Brothers in the title, but don't actually really It's hard to have this conversation with anybody, no matter how civilized, because even if somebody's going to bring up Super Mario Brothers, and it's like that's not a game about brothers. That's a game that needed to be 2 players.
Right.
Right. It's like, whereas Brothers is a game that needed 2 characters for its concept.
Right. Tale of Two Sons.
Basically you're asking what relationships should be explored in video games. I know basically all of them. Like, look at Seinfeld, for example. A man and his best friend, George. A man and his ex-girlfriend, Jerry and Elaine. a man and his neighbor who eats a lot of food from his house. You have every single relationship in that game is underrepresented in that story. That sitcom is underrepresented in video games. And those are 3 absolutely basic things.
I would say a man and his best friend is pretty well represented in games.
Yeah, in what? Let's hear. What's a good game about a man and his male best friend that involves that mechanically? Like
Final Fantasy 15.
That's true.
There you go. That's the only one that I had in my mind as actually mechanically involving all of that.
Gears of War.
Is it? That's a squad mate. That's a little different.
Their war. Yeah, war is weird. I believe the old adage goes, war is weird. That's from Tolstoy, actually. It's the soldiers have a different relationship. They can be best friends after the war, but few of them ever fully leave the war zone. Again, that's what Tolstoy said. The famous first lines of War and Peace: "Few soldiers ever fully leave the war zone. I know because I'm a man of peace." That's the first line of War and Peace. It's not true.
I was about to ask if you got that from Wikipedia. Let's revisit an old question that we had earmarked from last year. What's the worst flavor text you've seen in a video game?
I feel like some of these, let's earmark this for later, are ones where we were like, I wish I could research this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So having not done that.
Is Discord a video game? Because links are spoopy. It still makes my skin crawl.
Oh, it's horrible.
They cut that out. They don't have it anymore.
Yeah, they sure did. They took out the reticulating splines. They took out the wubba lubba dub dub.
There's I still see some stuff.
You don't have to quote them. It makes it worse. Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine doesn't say anything when I launch it, and that's how I like it.
Mm-hmm.
On my half laptop here, I'm looking at it on the browser, and so I'm getting a lot of loading up messages, and so I don't see those ones, but I see things about like piling up the snowballs and stuff. I don't know. They're still trying to do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they could, and they might as well.
Man, worst flavor text. I can only think of good ones like "It's bread," which is a good one. I guess.
Yeah, the flaw of this question, I guess, is that if it's bad, you don't remember it.
I mean, if it was really, really bad, I might remember it, but also I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. So
sounds like you got to just start eating the same thing every night.
Maybe I should.
That way, if you ever get caught in like a lie detector test.
Oh wait, I do know what I had.
Puts you on a polygraph.
I had Zach McCune's pizza, Hesher's Pizza.
I see. That's it's just weird to me that people can forget eating something that they like specifically go to a place.
We ordered it in.
It's like
we didn't go.
It's weird to me when someone's like, I went out to dinner with my friend last night. It's like, oh, what'd you have? She had chicken. I don't remember what I ordered. It's like, what? How can you not remember what you ordered? I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm just saying.
We ordered it into the house, and it came at an unusual time. So it was, that's why I couldn't remember for a minute. But anyway, flavor text? Heck if I know, man. I got to research
Let's just try Googling worst video game flavor text of all time.
All right, let's go.
10 worst flavor texts in Magic history. Oh, no, it's all about Magic cards. Netrunner cards. Oh, here we go. What is your favorite in-game flavor text from Reset Era?
I bet some of these are bad.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them are bad.
Oh, man, did you hear that place is supposed to be called Reset Era?
Oh, I know.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't call it that.
Where'd you hear that?
It was the guy who started it said it.
Wow.
He said it on video, and he's like, yes, it's pronounced Reset Era.
No. I don't know if this is flavor text, but Brownie Brown's Fantasy Life, the English localization, all of the text seems like bad flavor text. It's just there not to help you play the game. It's there to show off the person's writing all the time.
In a game about chilling, wouldn't all the story just be flavor, right? So I think that counts.
Okay.
If the game is about chilling. So I think actually the true answer here is the worst video game flavor text of all time is all the lore text in Elden Ring. Because it got nominated for Best Narrative, because of that, that's not a video game, that's reading, as I saw in one tweet say. So that would probably that caused an enormous Twitter apocalypse because it was nominated for Best Narrative. First of all, narratives everywhere in that game. I've talked about this last time, I believe I brought this up. Narratives everywhere in that game. Just chill with it. And also, it is actually fun to read the descriptions of some of the items. You don't have to sit there and do it all day. but sometimes you pop your menu open and you've been wearing a particular helmet for a couple of hours and you're like, I wonder what the description says of this helmet. And you read it and it says something weird and you're like, oh, that's weird. And then 5 hours later, you're still wearing that helmet and you remember the flavor text and you go, oh, that's all it takes, really. You don't have to write a New Yorker article about it. It's fine. Thank you.
I don't know about Elden Ring, but I know a lot of the books in Elder Scrolls are pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'll pick one up and feel like I have to read through it out of obligation, but like, why am I doing this?
I love that Elden Ring starts with the same 4 letters as Elder Scrolls, as though they asked George R.R. Martin to name. I wonder, first of all, I'm assuming George R.R. Martin named their game for them, and he just was unaware of Elder Scrolls and just called his game Elden Ring. Because I remember people comparing it to Elder Scrolls when it was first announced. Very funny. They're like, oh, it sounds too much like Elder Scrolls. And then also Tom Cruise released 2 movies basically not in a row, called Oblivion and Fallout, which is very funny because it shows that Tom Cruise's producers are ignorant of Fallout and Elder Scrolls. I find that very fun to know that Bethesda's just getting clowned on by the giants of greater media. Get owned, Bethesda. Good luck!
I've got one more question for you before the break. Deadline just announced that a live-action Death Stranding film is in the works.
Yeah.
Who should play Sam Porter Bridges?
Guillermo del Toro. Wait, no, not Guillermo del Toro because of his history of abuse. I forgot.
Okay, so first of all, when the original Death Stranding was announced, and I saw Norman Reedus' face, and people were screaming. People on Twitter were like, Norman Reedus, right? And I was like, what? And then when I got a better look at his face, like, is that guy from Boondock Saints?
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about the Walking Dead TV show. However, I watched some of it, ironically, while sick with the coronavirus. The literal coronavirus. The real one. The first time I had it, not the second or third time. If there was, I don't think there was a third time. There was a second. And I mean, I watched the first season of that show and it kind of, it's whatever, right? However, that Norman Reedus is real good, I would say. So, Amazon also just announced a God of War show, right? And everyone is saying they want the voice actor of Kratos to play Kratos. And it's like, all right. And then it's like, I'm reading down the fantasy casting in the thread. And it's like, and also the voice actor of this character should play this character. And also the voice actor of this character should play this character. Don't forget the voice actor of this character could play this character. And I'm like, man, everyone is going to be mad for different reasons when that show comes out. However, in the case of Death Stranding, it does seem a little more cut and dry.
Yeah, a little bit.
Who I always want to play in a movie when there's a role to be filled, and it's
Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert. So I feel like that's who should play.
Old Greystoke himself.
That's right. He should play Norman Reedus.
Yeah, as we're recording this, I believe today, Superman was just decast.
Yeah,
that's right. He sure was.
Oh my God.
That's what they mean by DC is decast.
That's what it stands for.
Decast. Yeah, Superman was decast. So what are we going to get Henry Cavill as Sam Porter Bridges?
Yeah.
He left The Witcher to come back as Superman, and now...
I actually read on Twitter he didn't leave The Witcher because of Superman. He left The Witcher because he was sick of the writers' woke agenda.
Oh.
I saw like 100 tweets to that tune earlier today.
Yeah.
I dipped into Twitter and I was like, uh-oh. So it's like, I don't even know if I'm going to watch seasons 2 and 3 of The Witcher now. That's a joke. Of course I will. I've only seen part of season 1 while sick with the literal
woke agenda.
Coronavirus. Yeah, the woke agenda is hilarious, dude. Are you kidding? It rules.
One of the top agendas.
I'm actually loving it. I'm slapping it up. I got my bib on and everything. I'm eating it like a meatball sandwich.
You've got a smoke agenda with the woke agenda.
Yeah, exactly. I got and Brandon's got a Greystoke agenda.
That's right. You know it.
Man, whomst among us has not seen Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan? What a film, dude.
I'll put it on my list.
Oh, really? It's on HBO.
Oh, cool.
I actually just watched it on HBO last week. I
For
remembered
now.
Brandon Sheffield. I unfortunately remembered Brandon Sheffield for a few seconds. While watching it, I was like, that's Brandon Sheffield's kid there.
That's right.
This is what I was saying.
He's my kid and my dad.
Young Lambert.
Yeah.
Playing the heck out of Tarzan.
Yeah.
In that movie.
Tarzaned it up.
The movie's renowned for never having the word Tarzan spoken once in the film. Interestingly, it was doing defamiliarization before every alt lit icon of the 90s was waving that word around like a god darn Iwo Jima flag. You know.
I was trying to watch the movie Subway on my Laserdisc player last night, starring Christopher Lambert, but I found out that my goddamn Laserdisc player has a bum drive belt, and so I'm gonna get it replaced.
My Laserdisc player's got a hole in it.
That's right.
That's what you should have said.
I should have. You're right.
There's a snake in my Laserdisc player. Could have said that as well.
Heck fire.
Yeah, tarnation, etc.
How would Christopher Lambert lament the failure of his Laserdisc player?
My Laserdisc player.
I think it would go a little something like this.
Yeah, but he would definitely get a laugh in there for sure.
There's a okay, I'm going to tell you my deepest Christopher Lambert a deep fake fantasy
Let's
here.
do it.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the show The Young Pope. First of all, I received a message from a young man just a couple weeks ago
The Pope?
who told me that he watched The Young Pope based on my recommendation, despite his entering it arms akimbo, assuming he would dislike it. And he said he had just a beautiful time watching it. So
great show.
Shouting that kid out. That's number one. There's a scene in The Young Pope where Jude Law says to a guy, I'm not going to tell you where it occurs in the story, where Jude Law as Lenny Belardo, Pope Pius X, he says, once Lenny Belardo, now he's Pope Pius X, and he is the Pope, first of all. He says to another guy, he says, they chose a Pope they didn't know, and now they are beginning to understand who I am. And anyway, first of all, Brandon, if you like dialogue like that, check out The Young Pope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so he says, they chose a pope they didn't know, and now they are beginning to understand who I am. First of all, they chose a pope they didn't know. Incredible sentence. First time I saw that scene, I for some reason played it back in my head. Camera angle, facial expression, vocal rhythm, cadence, and everything. Played it back in my head as Christopher Lambert delivering that line.
Yeah.
And I had a real good time. Like, just suddenly, it just...
he'll worm his way in there.
That's basically the main reason why I have recommended The Young Pope in the past to Brandon Sheffield, is because you can easily imagine Christopher Lambert in the role.
I'm sold.
And it is Jude Law at his most Christopher Lambert-esque.
Great.
One might even say he transsamberts the Lambert. So it's
one might.
That sounds.
It is Lambertian transcendentalism. And yes, I know it's pronounced Lambert. Okay.
Yeah, we all know.
It's something new to noodle on while we take a quick break.
I'm letting the listener know. Otherwise, I becomest a receptacle of people's scholastic passive aggressivism. Should I not point out? Oh, I actually know this.
One best not lambaste the Lambert.
Nobody can take your word for it that you know about something.
Yeah, you got to make sure.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't know about is the Pope and the Young Pope, because
they chose a pope they didn't know.
They chose a pope they didn't know.
They didn't know.
But I got good news. Now they're beginning to understand who I am.
That's right.
Welcome back to the Insert Credit Show. This is usually where we put the dirt bag, but I've decided to put that later. So now I've got to ask you one of my own questions. Here's a Jaffe original, and it's a question about questions. What questions would you put on a written exam in a game design class?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
The written portion, right?
Yes.
So like the essay part.
Right.
Man, this is super basic, but I might go with some Super Mario Bros. Mario facing right, doing his jumps kind of thing, like break down the first screen of Super Mario Brothers, something like that.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, it's too basic, but we're talking about basic. We're talking about college.
I believe that's like a 15-minute
Yeah.
chunk of like the first lecture of any game design class, right? So aren't exams usually, isn't there a regurgitation component?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been a while since anyone attempted to school me about anything, so I don't know if...
Except for pronunciations of words.
Speak too authentic. No, they don't. No, people don't try to school me. They just tell me that they think I'm wrong, and then they walk away. It's very interesting.
This would be hard to do in this amount of time, but design a good 3D Sonic game and explain your answers. Like, how is this Sonic? What are the tenets of Sonic? How does this work in 3D? How does it maintain the things that are important about Sonic? That would be It's an interesting exercise because Sonic Team has been trying to figure that exercise out for themselves for quite some time and coming up with different but similar answers. So clearly there's space to explore.
I've seriously considered questions like this in the past for a couple of reasons, because I've been asked to give, no big deal, asked to give lectures about design and stuff. And I even have in a couple of places. Lectures, however, are not exams. So, however, you do need to, when composing and outlining a lecture, you do need to consider how will the audience be involved here, right? How will they participate? They don't have to participate out loud. They can participate in their heads, right? So that sort of thing would be like, if I were doing any kind of exam, I would just want to know how people are feeling about stuff. So I would ask a question like, what would you change about the most recent video game you played?
Yeah, it's got to be something more like that than design a Sonic game in words. Go. You know, like it's got to be more specific. Yeah.
And what would you change about the last video game you played?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say it should be a critique, right? Like, it should be critiquing something. So, I actually really like that answer, Tim. Like, I was going to say, like, show a game and then have them critique it or something like that. But I think the last game you played, critique it from a design perspective. What would you change? I think that's it.
Yeah, I believe critique is not the foundation, though definitely a good component of the foundation of building toward a practical understanding of design. So, yeah, something critical. Be critical.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel because I was being, I don't know, maybe a little cynical accidentally. Not on purpose.
Have you ever been asked to give a lecture about game design, Brandon? At a university?
Not at a university, no.
Maybe. So, like, I think it's also, I think this sort of question is good because what would you change doesn't necessarily mean say something bad about the game. When we talk about critique or being critical, it kind of trips a lot of people into thinking that you're asking them to say something negative, right? Whereas what would you change could be like, how would you make it your own? How would you, what would you like to, what aspect of this would you like to explore?
I'm not sure how to explain this or phrase it as a question, but I often find that people don't really know how to talk about what they like. And so this being an exam, one of the things that I would have been talking about with them the whole time would be like how to discern what their own taste is and how to show that showcase that taste to other people. And I would definitely want to have some kind of a question that is about how to describe your unique perspective and how that would resonate with, or how it would be demonstrated in a video game based on their specific interests and tastes. But I don't know how to phrase that precisely. It might have to be a series. But I feel like that's something that people don't get enough of in their game development schooling, is a development and cultivation of their own taste and their own sense of what they like and what they don't, and why they like it and why they don't.
Here's my next question. What would you change about the last video game you played?
Oh man, I mean, I'm playing Yakuza Kiwami right now. That's rough.
Oh yeah. Well, let's do Yakuza Kiwami. What would we change in Yakuza let's just say the Yakuza series. I'm going to say what I would change in the new Yakuza series. I've been playing Dragon Quest Treasures lately, and it's a wonderful little video game. Brandon, this may interest you. It is developed by none other than, take a guess.
Oh, is it?
You've got to know this off the top of your head,
What
Brandon.
is it, Tosei?
Yeah, it's Tosei, because they made Dragon Quest Monsters, right? So they're one of the Dragon Quest legendary B teams for the Dragon Quest series. Tosei made this Dragon Quest Treasures, and it is the most inscrutable video game. Like, I spent the whole first 2 hours on a live stream playing the game, just continually saying, in a way, trying not to sound snippy, saying this smarter person's variant of who is this for? I kept saying, I don't understand what kind of game this is. I don't understand the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch obviously uses the two words Dragon Quest, right? And then lets everything else just kind of follow from there. But anyway, you collect monsters in this game. It is a Dragon Quest Monsters, but it's also a Dragon Quest Mystery Dungeon, but it's also Super Mario 64, Super Mario Odyssey with some random stuff. It has a neat core loop. It's actually a very fun game to just sit back and smoke, to sip, on a Sunday afternoon where it's raining outside. It's a fun game for that sort of thing. Not so much a fun game to play the story-heavy first hour of on a live stream. Anyway, the combat in that is what I kind of wish the combat in Yakuza Like a Dragon was, where your monsters are just fighting in real time, and you just choose which monsters come with you in battle, and the battles are just beautifully breezy and very simple action battles, and they're just kind of dynamic, lots of stuff fighting. So that's what I would change about the... I know the new Yakuza. Yakuza 8 is going to be turn-based combat again, right?
Yep.
Is it?
Yep.
Do we know this?
We do.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we knew that. Okay. Is it a Like a Dragon sequel, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So they have said that the main Yakuza series is now turn-based, and that the Judgment series is like original Yakuza style.
Okay,
gameplay.
got it.
And they've also renamed the Yakuza series Like a Dragon, which our good friend Scott Strikeart, the lead of localization over there, ever since Yakuza 0, was striving to get them to change the name of the series to Like a Dragon as early as Yakuza 0, right? And he finally did it on his way out. So as he left the door of that series, he managed to get it changed. So let's give him a big round.
Thank you.
I saw some bad tweets when they announced that Like a Dragon Ishin, which is sort of a Shinsengumi kind of story, right? It's not about the Yakuza. I saw somebody be like, I don't understand why they would abandon the Yakuza name for something like this. And then someone was like, well, they're not Yakuza. They're actually samurais in this story, so it doesn't make sense to call it Yakuza. You still don't abandon your trademark. It's your IP. I remember getting really sad. And then I realized that guy was like 14, so...
I would either remove or improve the idea of weapons in the game, because they are they're useless to the point of why are there multiple systems that surround them? Like they break really fast. They aren't that much more useful than using your fists. They aren't particularly interesting, and they fill up your whole inventory. So like, what are they for? So I would definitely be working on something to change that system or remove it.
I really think the Dragon Quest Treasures approach to equipping some monsters, because you can have 3 monsters with you when you go out into the field, and Dragon Quest has dozens,
like
hundreds of different monster types. Yeah, and you just choose them, and then it's just breezy real-time action combat where you can kind of get your dudes beat up and killed if you pick like monsters that are slightly not the correct affinity for the area, like the continent you're going to, or the the elemental affinities of enemies generally in a particular dungeon or location in that area. So you've got to like pick who's going with you on what mission, and all your monsters have little names and little personalities. I feel like if the Yakuza party members were more like that, just which buddies are you going to take with you to this place, and then you get to just watch them just speak their little dialogue quips. And I mean, I hate to say make it not turn-based, because they clearly they poured a lot of soul into the idea of making it turn-based. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, I think it was a mistake personally, or they need to really fix the turn-basedness of the Like a Dragon because it didn't go very well. But I just had to add that if they do want to go that direction you're talking about, Tim, the whole tower that they did where you have to fight a gauntlet of enemies and they all have elements and all the different stuff, like that's the only part of the battles in Like a Dragon
where you
that's
gotta
interesting.
pick and choose your dudes.
Yeah, and where it actually and I read a lot of responses from people saying that area was like really difficult, and even the guides were like, this place is
because
really
they were not adequately trained by the game proper to associate every encounter with the pre-planning.
Yep.
Right. Whereas, so the way it would work better and sublimely, and I just believe, I mean, I always have, I believe this for a long time, and I still believe it now. The answer to almost all of the riddles of game design lurks in somewhere in the Dragon Quest series. In this Dragon Quest Treasures, Dragon Quest is always just about hanging out, right? And the monsters you choose to take with you affects the flavor of the hangout, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Yakuza could kind of could meditate on the phrase flavor of the hangout a little bit, right? Like, how do you want to affect the flavor of the hangout? Instead of challenge, it should be more about what flavor is the hangout, right? And I think that Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon, when it tries to get hard, I think it kind of flounders there.
Well, I mean, I actually thought that segment was the more interesting part, and people thought it was difficult because they hadn't been prepped for it. But like, it was the only time where it made sense to equip certain things
for the game to be a turn-based. Yeah. I mean, it flounders in so much as that people, it got in the focus testing sense. Yeah,
people didn't get it.
I think they need to just boil down the flavor a little bit more. Let it simmer a little bit more. I don't know.
Make it a nice caramel.
Thank you.
Here's my next question. How would you describe your unique perspective, and how would you demonstrate that in a video game?
Well, what does that mean?
A unique perspective?
That was my question from from 2 questions ago.
So,
see, that's
okay.
what's going on. Well, I can start it out. I mean, it is of course difficult. It's difficult to describe, and it's hard to make a question about it. But I think that if you take an amalgam of things you like, then and weave them together in a clever way, then you will have something that feels familiar but different to people. So like in Demon School, for example, we take influence from multiple things that I enjoy, like tactics games, like Italian horror films, like Japanese RPGs, Japanese horror manga, but also North European landscapes. And if you put all those disparate things together, but in a way that is filtered by specific taste, then you wind up with something that feels cohesive and also, familiar, but different. But you can't just have, like, slap genres together. You have to have reasons to do it, and reasons that they actually are thematically similar. Like, for example, with this game, when you've got a horror movie and you look at like a weird horrific effect and it's done with practical effects, you look at it and you're like, how did they do that? It doesn't fully take you out of the movie, but it makes you know that it's not real while also thinking about the craft of making it look real. And I feel like Saturn games do that as well when they are trying to, work with a very difficult system, and they'll do like dithering on transparency, and you'll be like, how did they do that? Why did they do that? They had to do that because of this, and it kind of makes you think about the work. You can see the work. And so I think that for me, being able to show the work and make players see the work without having to really grind their gears on it is a perspective that if you thread through a whole game will give people a stronger connection to it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes enough sense.
I don't want to answer this question.
You're allowed.
Frank, you failed my class.
Oh boy. Yeah, you're going to have to take gym or something this semester. Tim, I imagine you also want to pass?
Wait, my unique perspective?
Yeah, your unique perspective. And how would you demonstrate that in a video game? That's the professor's question.
You have done it.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. I think your unique mechanical perspective is in video ball.
Yeah, I got that in there somewhere. That's a part of it. My perspective is a little too big. What is my unique perspective? How would I express it in a video game? I leave that for the video game critics of the year 2028 or so to decide. Thank you.
Ooh.
I've decided part of my elderly wisdom as I get on in years is realizing I don't have a unique perspective.
I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's
My
true.
not unique perspective is that everybody has a unique perspective. It's just a collection of facts. You got to overlap a lot of facts, and then you'll determine what that perspective is.
Yeah, there are things that people would come to you to ask about, and they wouldn't come to somebody else to ask about that.
Is that expertise or perspective?
It's a little
It's
of both.
It's perspective-pertise.
Yeah, perspective.
Perspexpertise.
I see.
Perspexpertise.
I didn't know I had any of that.
Perspexpertise.
Your perspective is a prism, not a lens. You know what I mean? There's many facets to how stuff filters through your perspective. It doesn't just pop out and show up on a projection screen.
That's why all three of us are on here, because one input comes in and then multiple outputs come out, because we all have a prism to refract the
That's
answer.
beautiful, Brandon.
That's part of it. Although I did also receive an email from Twitch yesterday about my year-end wrap-up for my metrics, and the numbers were really big. So I don't know if necessarily multiple perspectives equals a better product.
I didn't say better.
That's all I'm saying
Just
about
said that's
that.
why we do it this way.
I'm just somebody was thinking it. Somebody was thinking it in the audience. I'm just letting them know.
Okay.
I'm cutting them off. So much of my life is just knowing exactly what one guy in the audience is gonna say to me 3 seconds later. So I've got to cut him off before he can think it.
That's the game now.
I've got it. It's that's the horror of the infinite perspectives. It's just it's out there. Once you start saying everybody's got their own prism.
I got one more question before the lightning round. How would you break down the first screen of Super Mario Brothers?
God darn it.
Did you just not write any questions this week? Like, is that the thing?
I anticipated this was the joke. Because it was a question and then 3 more and then the dirtbag is the last question. I kind of figured this was going to happen.
It's that anticipation again.
It's been done to death, dude.
Yeah, so what can we do that's funny?
So there are plenty of places you can go on the internet, listener, to watch people very thoroughly break down the first. It's not really the first screen of Super Mario Brothers, but it's the first. I would say from the title screen
like most of
area
1-1
to
or
jumping over the first pipe. There's places you can go. It's breaking down that moment where you, the player, jump over that first pipe. That's your first. That would be your first jump.
Well, I think your first jump is supposed to be the Goomba is coming toward you, and you realize you have to do something.
Yeah, you have to do something to avoid the Goomba because you'll die if you don't. The jumping over the first pipe is your first jump, full of joy.
Right.
It's your first joyful jump, right? So it's the first voluntary jump that is mandatory but feels like a choice. So it's an interesting moment to enjoy a jump instead of, you imagine a kid sweating bullets in a Brickules trash can, sitting there yelling at his dad, Jerry, because he can't get over the Goomba.
Goomba's bearing down on it.
A kid sweating bullets. It's not a joyful jump. It's a fearful jump. It's a jump of terror. A leap of faith. Oh, what's scarier than faith? Am I right? The unknown, the divine,
That's
right? So it's a bad jump, that one. Anyway, so here's a question then. What's another 2-screen to a 12-second segment of video game that should be at this point, as in The Chair moving in Citizen Kane, be discussed somewhat ad nauseum by people when it comes time to pick apart video game design? What's something aside from the beginning of Super Mario Brothers? What's another elemental archetypal example of dissection-worthy design, owing to the discussion, the related discussion that Shigeru Miyamoto says to always design your last level first, or your first level last, right?
Mm-hmm.
So owing to that, like, what's another wisdom-packed 12-second segment of video game, assuming it takes 12 seconds for a Nimrod to
here's one,
get past that first Goomba.
Here's one I've discussed on the show before, but Ninja Gaiden Black, you start out in a valley with water flowing past you, and so it lets you know that if you turn around, there might be something there, and there's like a treasure behind you. And you're in a valley, and you're you can only see forward, and you're sort of encouraged potentially to jump. And if you do that, you can see that you can wall jump because you're in a valley and it's likely that you will hit the walls. I feel like that is an interesting first 12 seconds for a 3D game that kind of encourages you to think about and interact with your world a little bit. That's one. Also Pac-Man.
Very good.
That calls to mind the courtyard in Super Mario 64.
Yeah, except that is your eyes are being drawn to the castle gate so much.
I don't know if this is cheating, but like I just can't stop thinking about Pac-Man with this conversation because it's like, but you know, it's I don't know, like
it's all there on the table.
Yeah, it forces you to move. You got the pellets.
It has the bigger pellet that's telling you come eat this. There's immediate visual and audio feedback as soon as you eat the big thing.
Yeah. All the enemies change color and change direction, and it's like, oh.
Well, they don't just change color and direction; they start frowning,
which
immediately tells you that they're in trouble now.
That's right.
Like
Hunter has become the hunted face.
Very nice.
I think that's my answer, even though it was Brandon's answer.
Pac-Man, heck of a thing. You know, I encounter some every once in a while where I go, ooh, that's a nice little tidbit. My brain is just too full of game tidbits at this point to really. I was playing. I don't know. It's like none of them is really. So the weird thing is, like I said, burstulous of tidbit. You know, just completely burstulous of tidbit. I am these days when it comes to video games. Where it's like none of them really feels like an archetype anymore. I feel like I've played too much. I've sampled too wide, you know? I was playing god darn Tengai Makyo Fuun Kabuki Den the other day, and I had a little moment
I know that game.
Where I was like, ooh, that's a nice little taste of RPG. And then I was like, how different is this really from that little taste I got playing Elder Gate at that one moment, right? And it's like, oh, I've sampled too wide. I would make an ill professor, I would say, even though I'm told.
I'm sure you'd break it down. You could just choose one, because all you got to do is like choose to talk about Kabuki Den for a second.
Choose to talk about just one. Clearly, you ain't experienced one of my nightmare,
I'm aware.
One of my nightmare slide shows
I'm aware.
that I perpetrate unto the populace. I just want to say that I dropped into the Discord chat. I opened up an Amazon tab because I remembered I wanted something, and I figured if I order it before 6 p.m. it has a good shot at arriving tomorrow morning. Because you need a new supplement. So I went to Amazon.
Talking about worst flavor text.
I went to Amazon. Yeah, and I had a very good example of bad flavor text. You can all see it in the main general Discord channel.
Oh, ew.
It's an image of the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. First of all, the rings. You know, I love it, right? Double the rings, double the fun. Am I right? So it's an image of the Lord of the Rings of Power. It was like on an Amazon, screen spanning banner ad. I haven't seen the show because I'm supposed to rewatch all of the Lord of the Rings films at some point in the future, and then I will watch this show. Yeah. I'm told it's bursting with woke agenda, so that's a little.
My mom likes it.
That's actually, in my opinion, nice. Give me that woke agenda. I got my woke agenda bib on. Probably not. It probably just has a girl in it. So. That's probably all there is to it. It's got a girl in it. Oh no. Look out. So anyway, the Amazon app says, I guess it's an advertisement for Prime Video. It says, this holiday season, binge something epic. The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, Prime Video. This holiday season, binge something epic. Holy Lord. Incredibly bad flavor text.
It's bad, but I think it's effective.
I'm sure it
think
works.
there is.
It gets right to it.
Right? It's like, it's exactly what some people are looking for right now. Some people are like, I want to binge something epic. As much as I hate this text, I actually think it's pretty good marketing.
I was in my parents' house a couple Christmases ago, and I turned on the telly on Christmas Day, and Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark is about 11 minutes and 18 seconds in. I have the first 20 minutes or so memorized. It was about 11 minutes, 18 seconds in. I go, oh, yeah. And I just sat where I was and continued watching it with all the motion smoothing. I binged something epic. I binged it in the sloppiest manner possible. So, they're getting me with this. I'm like, maybe I'll watch that Witcher show on Christmas. Maybe I'll do
I
that.
will just say I do some writing for the DC Comics website, and part of our style guide is that we're never supposed to use the word binge. And that's kind of a note I appreciate.
Do they encourage epic?
There's no official opinion on epic.
Well, DC Comics is definitely more epic in general than Marvel, for example. So
Sure.
I feel like you should be allowed to use that.
Yeah.
Then again, the word epic has been burnished into unremarkability by overuse. So who knows, right?
I use it sparingly. It's time for the lightning round. This lightning round comes from the dirt bag. Every so often, I will get a lightning round suggestion in the dirt bag, and I decided to pick one out this week.
This is Pokemon related because lightning beats dirt, right? Dirt beats lightning.
Dirt beats lightning, that's correct.
I just want to say I played that new Pokemon as well. Dragon Quest Treasures. They should make a Pokemon that's like Dragon Quest Treasures. Thank you.
Every week, I take a question submitted to us from patreon.com/insertcredit, where you can subscribe for mere dollars a month to get monthly bonus episodes, special surprises, and this very forum where you can ask questions like this. This lightning round comes from Yeso, and I am proposing a title for this game. I'm calling it The Price is Sprite.
Okay.
Here's the rules. I'm going to name an item, the game that item is available in, and the denomination of currency in that game. And based on that information, you have to guess how much it costs. Closest without going over wins.
Okay.
Your first item is a bag of potato chips from Shenmue 2. Denomination is Hong Kong dollars.
HKD.
2.5 HKD.
20 Hong Kong dollars.
I don't want to do the conversion, whatever the equivalent of $5 is.
Frank, you have to do the conversion. It's part of the game.
Because it's 1992.
Well, okay, let's just pause the show here. Okay.
You have to do it in your head.
I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
Have to guess.
You got to make a guess.
Around,
it's part of the
10
game.
cents in the 80s, 90s. It would have been around 7-8 cents. I'm no expert. I'm not from Hong Kong.
Just guess, Frank.
$5 is 38.
Brandon is correct. It was 8 Hong Kong dollars.
Nice.
Okay.
20, same thing.
Your next item is an illusion mirror in East 3, and the denomination is gold pieces.
God. The illusion mirror is...
Okay, I believe that's a shield. I'm just going to go with a shield.
I literally played this last year.
And I'm going to go 500 gold.
Dude, the illusion mirror. I think illusion mirror is 100 gold.
100 gold. No. It's about 1,200.
Frank is exactly right. It's 500 gold.
Son of a heck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your next
I can't
item.
believe you guys didn't know that.
It's embarrassing that I have very recently played this game.
Why would you recall? Like, all you know is whether you have enough and you need to get more, right? Like, why would you know more than that?
There are very few items in the game, and so you keep being like, all right, do I have enough for this yet?
East has that thing where you just kind of have to buy stuff.
As opposed to
like,
hunt for in treasure chests, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the first East renownedly just has a whole bunch of stuff in the first town that you just perfunctorily have to purchase.
Your next item is a 1997 Chevy Camaro SS in Gran Turismo 2. The denomination is credits.
And I didn't play enough Gran Turismo to know how much things cost in credits.
2,500 credits.
I'm going to say 2,600 credits.
Whoa.
I'm going to say
that's valid.
500 credits.
Tim is correct. It's 32,880 credits. So you're the closest by 100. Okay, your next item is...
Okay.
Your next item is a big cookie in Paper Mario, and the denomination is coins.
Stuff is really cheap
3.
in Paper Mario because the integers are so small.
3.
I'm going to go 30 coins.
No,
3.
I feel like it's lower than that. I feel like it's got to be, right? It's got to be lower than that.
You can feel however you want. That's my answer.
Brandon said 3, Frank said 30. Tim, where are you at?
I'm going to say 5.
Tim is closest. It's 10 coins.
God, I should have said. I was gonna say 10.
But you got it. It's okay.
But
you don't
whatever.
have to be
I guess I got it. It would have been fun to be exact because Paper Mario. Like I say, the integers are the numbers are very small. They're very clean in Paper Mario.
Your next item for bid is a hyper cartridge from Mega Man Legends. The denomination is zenny.
Big Z.
Oh, that's 350 zenny.
Hyper cartridge. I'm gonna say it's 200.
Did you know that zenny is actually just like an old word for
I did.
like good Japanese money?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
And that's
It's
cool.
just like an old. It is. What were the answers everybody else gave?
Brandon said 200, Frank said 350.
Oh, it's much more than that. It's like 10,000, something like that. 100,000, something like that.
Frank is closest without going over. It's 3,000 zenny.
No.
Our next item is a popularity bracelet from Yakuza 3. The denomination is yen.
How much is a popularity bracelet?
100,000.
Well, it's free. You just got to get popular.
That's right. I mean, I definitely picked one up from a locker. Is how much I paid for it. I paid one locker key. Is that an answer?
That is not an answer. You got to give me yen.
I know. Popularity bracelet. I'm gonna say 30,000.
Tim?
I don't know, 20,000, 25,000.
Tim is closest without going over. It's 29,800 yen.
God, I was so close.
All right.
Yeah, you were, but you busted.
Busted.
That's the rules.
29,800 is a very realistic sounding
true.
Japanese price.
True.
So,
All right, your next item is a cape of darkness from Suikoden, and the denomination is Potch.
More like a cape of dark.
Cape of Darkness, okay. That's, I think that's
Darkness.
4,200?
I'm gonna say it is 350.
150 Potch. Tim?
That sounds really low. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say 1,000 potch. I changed my
1,000
mind.
Potch. Tim?
I think it's a lot more than that. I don't know. 5,000?
Tim, you're closest without going over. It's 8,500 Potch.
That's a fair number.
God, I haven't played any of those Suikoden games in a long time.
Yeah, me. It's been a
I
while.
don't know.
But you're doing well. Your next item
Yes.
is a human brain, the day one price, in Pathologic 2. And the denomination is money.
Oh, pathologic money.
Day one price would be more than day two.
120.
120 money?
120
I'm
money.
gonna say it's 420.
I don't know, man.
Are you defaulting?
I don't know. Wait, what were the guesses?
Frank said 120. Brandon said 420.
I think it's somewhere between those. Let me say 240.
Brandon is the closest. It's 450 money.
Nice.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Your last one is fentanyl from Shin Megami Tensei 4, and the denomination is maca.
Oh, what is the Maka trading for these days?
Cops seem to be getting it for free all the time. Drives them crazy and makes them shoot people. Fentanyl in maca. I'm gonna say 300.
300 maca.
I'm gonna go 400
There you go.
Maka.
400 maca.
We're just going to go way up. We're going to just say 1,000.
Tim is correct, or he's the closest. It's 4,700 maca. Tim,
I don't believe
you have
it.
won the lightning round. Congratulations.
Or does that mean I get to have a lightning round in my own episode? Is that what
I
that
think
means?
that's what happens. Yes, you get to add a lightning round to your episode.
Oh, wow. That's not bad.
This is if you get another point, you might be able to add a recommendation segment. This is the point where you all get to recommend the things you are interested in or plug the things you've been working on. We do it every week, and we love to do it, and we're always prepared.
That's right. I'm actually prepared this time. First of all, I have to make a correction. I said that Akira was from Street Fighter EX last episode, but she's from Rival Schools. That's my mistake.
Thank you.
Dumb. I got a couple things to recommend. There's a Genesis game in Kickstarter right now called Jewel of the Five Suns. I'm not necessarily recommending that you kickstart it, but I recommend that you take a look at it because it's the most honest Kickstarter that I have seen from a person who clearly has not looked at other Kickstarters, where they're just like, maybe I'll do this, I'm not sure, or check out the pixel art upgrade I made from the Amstrad version. I think it's good enough.
Shoot,
It's
guy's
like-
name is Konstantinos Katsouris.
Yep.
Good name.
Yeah, he's from Greece, that's for sure. He's never
Yeah,
backed any
that's a
other
heck of a
Kickstarter. he's just
His goal is $2,661 US. I'm sure that's a rounder number in another currency.
he did a 60-day campaign, and it's halfway over, and he's made it to $3,000. But he's also one of those kinds of people who is like, now here's a 20-page lore document if you would like to download that. Anyway, it's just
that rules.
It's fun. I liked looking at it. Give it a look. Check out Jewel of the Five Sons.
I got the video going.
Yeah.
It's a Genesis turn-based RPG.
It's a roguelike with some tactical-y type things. Yeah.
His description is a roguelike turn-based RPG.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, game looks pretty cool.
Yeah. It looks all right.
It's definitely got a certain Mega Drive Euro game look to it.
I mostly am recommending it for the Kickstarter itself, and the it's very different from how a person would make one for the most part these days. My next recommendation is if any of you out there enjoyed my recommendation of listening to old Live 105 broadcasts, I will now recommend to look up Cameron Paul 106 KMEL Power Mix. Check that out on YouTube or SoundCloud or Mixcloud or whatever. These are gonna be hip hop and freestyle, mostly freestyle. And Cameron Paul is like one of the early mixologists who would seamlessly mix songs with similar BPM together and make it sound real good. And it's an enjoyable time. There's a bunch of them around that you can listen to, and if you enjoy hearing new songs with a vintage flavor, or new to you songs rather with a vintage flavor, then definitely worth a shot. So that's what I got. Oh, and of course, wishlist Hyper Gunsport and Demon School. Yeah, the end. Goodbye.
I don't know if we've talked about the Yakuza series, but I'm having a pretty good time with that.
The games are pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Frank, have you played all of them?
Oh God, no. I played 0 and Like a Dragon.
Oh wow, neat. Oh, so Kiwami must be real fun, huh?
It's like
it's an interesting thing, isn't it?
It just opened up.
Oh, so you got past like the funeral?
I'm about to attend the funeral.
Oh, okay, yeah, dude. I like that game, man.
I like it too.
I know what to expect from the others.
Yes.
So I know it's gonna get good. I'm just not.
Except know that it is a breezier, streamlined, quote unquote, like it's quote unquote shorter than your typical Yakuza game, because it was released as like a remake to help newcomers to the series better understand the lore before they move on to the full sequels that were coming out. But it's still a hilariously generous, large video game with tons of cool stuff in it.
Man,
I love the Majima system in that game, dude.
Oh yeah.
Where Majima just shows up to fight you.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm pretty happy that that's coming. Yeah.
That's the only like random encounter thing that's ever been good in the Yakuza series is the Majima system. Frank, I wish that it were possible for you to just jump straight to the dance section, the Haruka dance section of Yakuza 5. Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy getting there.
Maybe. I
don't know. There's some other stuff in the series of games that's pretty good.
No, it's just like if I were to recommend one additional segment of the game to Frank, I would recommend that segment because it's different and shows something else that the series could do. But you got to play through the rest first. It's obviously I want to play through all of these and did do so, but I can imagine Frank burning out well before that, and that's why I wish he could just jump straight.
I don't. If I take my time like I've been doing, I'm not going to burn out.
All right,
they're good sipping games,
one a
man.
year.
Good,
yeah, okay. Well, when
they're good sipping games.
Yeah. Well, and I think this might be. I think I might always play it on the. So I started playing it because I'm like, I need a Christmas game.
Oh yeah, and nothing's more Christmas than Sega.
I think I googled like Yakuza Christmas game, and the early results on page 1 seem to indicate that Kiwami was had Christmas themes in it. So I was like, great,
yes,
done.
It's a wintry game of sorts. Yeah. Kiwami's good. If you want to have, man, I don't want to like give you this is the most like fetishistic, obsessive comment to make here, but what better place? I know that you have previously enjoyed the undub of Zettai Zetsume Toshi 2 / Raw Danger. Did you know there is an undub of Yakuza for the PlayStation 2, which is the pre-make of the game that you're playing right now?
Which I played when it came out. I just completely forgot.
Yeah, well, if you were interested in we're using the phrase pre-make now. It's if you were interested in
If we can say decast, we can say remake.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
consistent.
Oh man, yeah. So if you were interested in the pre-make of Yakuza Kiwami, you could try just light up that Yakuza 1 a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually think the English voices in that game are great.
Early insert credit contributor Christopher Woodard was really trying to get me to play the Yakuza series specifically, and I didn't want to. This is in the in the PS2 era,
in the day,
and he actually burned for me an undub of the first Yakuza in like, I don't know, 2006 or whatever.
But if people know how to hack PS2 games in 2006, that might be a mess.
Apparently they did.
Wow.
I still have it.
I don't know about no ancient undubs, but I know the undub out now is fully legit. It might be new subtitles as opposed to like dub titles. People took umbrage at the overuse of profanity in the original Yakuza localization, though.
It was very funny.
Yakuza slang is in Japanese ultra repetitious. It's full sentences being flung around as though they were single 4-letter words. It's quite remarkable. So I feel like that localization was very good at giving the texture of the Japanese. My translator's opinion with my translator hat on there. Well, the other week, I suggested to Frank that he watch JoJo. I'm not saying they're the same thing at all, but if you're able to play a whole Yakuza video game, you might like JoJo. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd like JoJo.
I don't know. You might like it. I recently enjoyed watching the rest of Stone Ocean on Netflix.
I haven't gotten to those last episodes yet.
I really liked Stone Ocean, the manga, the downswing of Stone Ocean, the manga, which I first read back in the way early 2000s. The downswing of that is some of the most graphic designedly confounding art I've ever seen in captured in manga on the pages of a manga magazine. So I do not envy the task set before David Production, the makers of the anime. It's JoJo is one of those things tossed around, like for many years it was tossed around as like the works of Cormac McCarthy, like the book Blood Meridian, tossed around as being unadaptable, like Watchmen for the comics fans in the audience. It was just a cliche to call it
Naked Lunch.
Naked Lunch.
It was unadaptable.
Yeah. It was tossed around as a cliched answer to call it unfilmable, unadaptable, right? Because JoJo has so much of the grand tradition of manga as a thing on paper, as a work of graphic design, in addition to storytelling and comic art. There's manga as manga, and it's filtered through weird multiple prism style lenses of Western comics. JoJo is kind of this interesting gateway both to manga and to comics in general, and to itself more, first and foremost. And the downswing of Stone Ocean, the reason I'm bringing this up is they just released the last chunk of episodes of Stone Ocean on Netflix. That's the last 12 episodes. Like there are so many moments in JoJo leading up to that part where it's like where Araki, the author, clearly spent an afternoon at the library, right? And wrote a bunch of facts down. It's like, I can figure out how to put this in there. JoJo is an excellent vehicle for itself, for having the fights and battles come up where Araki just gets to express whatever he's just vibing with at the moment, at that crystallized moment that he was writing that particular sequence of pages in the manga. There is a greater overarching story that connects between all the arcs, though really it's about Araki's day-to-day when you look at it. And you see that nowhere more clearly than in the closing chapters of Stone Ocean. And I mean, I must have read Stone Ocean a dozen times in my life. I really like Stone Ocean a lot. I love the look of Stone Ocean. You get it in a tankobon format, and you read the print at the correct size. The art is just very, very crispy and beautiful. Araki is peerless, and I think it's him at his absolute prime. And somehow they did it. They've adapted all of normal JoJo now. we're getting to Steel Ball Run and JoJo Leon and JoJo Land, which are the next. He just announced that there's a new JoJo coming.
Oh yeah, that was today.
Yeah. So I having just finished all of JoJo myself, the TV series. I've read all of the manga many times. I would just extend a full, wholehearted recommendation to anybody who hasn't seen or engaged with JoJo. It is peak modern art. It is perfectly watchable. It is at times hilarious. It contains moments of action movie triumph and a lot of real head scratchers in terms of the mechanics of the situations it sets up. On occasion, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, what's going on here? There will be the much parodied Dragon Ball episodes where people are just charging up their supers for the entire episode, are just done in overdrive format in JoJo, where whole 20-page segments of the manga will take place within a single 2 seconds, right? And Araki, as time went on, started having more and more fun with the volume of words being spoken by a character within that 2 seconds. So often you will see a man lying on the ground, crushed under rubble, peeking out, watching two people struggle in an intense psychic martial arts battle, and he's narrating to himself and the reader hundreds of words of he's doing this, and then he decided that he could do this, and he's also doing this. And Araki is having so much fun with just piling stuff in there. As it goes on, it just builds to these massive crescendos, and I just do think the end of Stone Ocean is just a wonderful collection of payoffs. And I love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
And I hope they make the anime of Steel Ball Run, which is my actual favorite part of JoJo. Steel Ball Run is phenomenal.
You heard it here.
Anyway, that's my big recommendation for you can watch all the quote-unquote normal JoJo. It's kind of hard to tell what normal JoJo is. They did it. After almost 40 years, they adapted all of JoJo, and now they're getting into the JoJo for freaks, but it's still JoJo. JoJo's JoJo. It's always going to be. I would watch it if I hadn't watched it. It's all on Netflix. Netflix owns it now. Hopefully they won't delete it and delist it for tax write-off purposes. That's all I have to say, and I do think Frank would enjoy it. So, Frank, you watch JoJo. I do.
Well timed.
Yeah.
A little supplemental recommendation is if you like the poses of JoJo, check out the fashion illustrator Antonio Lopez. And you'll have a good time.
Also, check out, if you like the poses of JoJo, check out fashion illustrator Araki Hirohiko, author of JoJo.
Thank you.
Who has lots of, his eye for fashion grows more and more incredible as the series goes on. And his eye for poses as well. Another thing that made JoJo considered for a long time unadaptable is those poses. What's going on with all those poses? The makers of the anime said didn't even ask what's going on with those poses. They just knew what to do. And it is absolutely beautiful again and again.
I have some recommendations.
Interesting.
I've been watching Blacklist on Netflix because
you're not supposed
James
to actually
Spader?
recommend stuff.
Yeah, with
What is
James
this?
Spader.
What is this?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I wonder what James Spader's been up to. Oh, right, he made 200 episodes of this network drama.
Every mom's favorite show, apparently.
Yeah. If you want to hang out with James Spader, that show is a whole lot of James Spader shows up and then you wait for him to show up again. And they don't make you wait very long because he's the whole show. And he does what he does, and it's great. And before you know it, you're 20 episodes in. It's a good, stupid time. I would also like to recommend that if you're listening to this show in some format where you can subscribe to or review podcasts, especially in iTunes, that helps us at this point, you do that for us in that way to keep the algorithms in our favor. You could also go to patreon.com/insertcredit, where you can become a patron to submit your own topics, listen to monthly bonus episodes, and get other exclusive goodies. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com, or look for Insert Credit on YouTube as expertly curated by our editor. Speaking of that editor, this show is edited by Esper Quinn, with original music by Kurt Feldman. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And they chose a pope they didn't know, and now they are beginning to understand who I am.
We did it.
Yeah, man, I love the young Pope, dude.
TYP.
This Pope ain't getting any younger.
You ever watch the new Pope?
No, I'm keeping it. I'm saving it. I got it in my pocket, for when I feel like the young Pope is like the most JoJo-esque live action thing I've ever seen.
I can see that, yeah.
If I had to pick one thing that's the most JoJo-esque thing, man, TYP is good.
It's very good. I'm glad you turned me onto that.
It's a good thing to smoke.
The young smoke.